Hello everyone, and it's time to talk about the loot system, particularly in Star Wars The Old Republic. Now, this video is coming off the back of someone quitting the guild that I was in over an argument over loot, and it's a real guild breaker. This subject is a thorny subject, particularly for raiding guilds. Now, it was on the live stream that it happened, the instant, which there's no commentary on the live stream. You can check it out as the OBS test, which we won't be using OBS in future, I don't think, because the microphone did cut out for no apparent reason. The microphone was still detected by it, it just decided not to pick up sound anymore. It wasn't a problem with the microphone, because the microphone is working fine, as you can hear, but again, the OBS decided to stop. Don't know what the cause was, but I will find out the cause. The video quality is actually not too bad on OBS, but we'll get back to the point of this video. So basically, we were running 16-man Ravagers story mode, mostly a guild run, though there were a few pugs, and somebody won a piece of loot that they did not want, and they linked it up and told people to roll on it, and one of the people we were pugging with rolled the highest number, and he did not give it to him, though, and that to me is a bit low, not giving it to him, and again, it caused someone who wasn't even related to it to just decide to quit the guild and didn't want to raid with us. Now this comes as the whole problem with loot, and I think that we really need to find a solution. One of the big problems, particularly as far as 3.0 is concerned, with loot is that the gap between the commendation gear and the gear that drops in operations and the set bonus gear, because there's three gear types within a tier. There's the Mark 1 Massassi, there's the Mark 2 Massassi, and there is the Resurrected gear. They're all 192. They're all the same item level, essentially. However, some are way better than others, particularly the Resurrected. Resurrected is the coveted gear with the set bonus, and that's the gear everybody wants, basically. The Mark 1 gear is the worst and is available for commendations. This is a huge problem because commendations are worthless right now. Elite comms, pretty much worthless. Now, I have saw the changes. I recently just looked at the 3.2 PTS, and I do see that we're getting a lot more ultimate comms, particularly for HM flashpoints, and we're also getting ultimate comms now for doing the old level 55 ops in story mode. Now we're getting ultimate comms, going to get 10 ultimate comms for the weekly quest. So all of the rewards are being upped, basically, because the content just wasn't worth it. It was a problem of reward, basically. A lot of us were saying this. I said this in many videos, that it was a problem of reward. But this is a different problem entirely. The loot problem is a guild breaker. I've seen guilds collapse. I've seen groups collapse. I've seen pugs collapse over loot and loot rules. What can we do to prevent this? Again, we take a look at other MMOs. We'll take a look at 2 in particular, how they handle it. We're going to take a look at Guild Wars 2, and we're going to take a look at World of Warcraft, how it handles loot in Warlords of Draenor, at least. Now, both of these games feature a personal loot table. If you don't know what that is, basically, when you loot the boss or you loot a chest in a raid or in a dungeon, the loot that you see is just for you. So sometimes you get no loot. If you look at World of Warcraft for the example, you'll loot the boss after killing it, and you'll just see gold. Okay, you've won nothing. Or you might see a piece of loot for your spec. You have to you can set your spec, so you can, like, if you're a Retribution Paladin, for example, and you want some healer gear, you can set your loot specialization to Holy, and you can get Holy gear will drop gear with intellect instead of strength in it, and it will be more optimized for healing rather than DPS. I think this is a very good system. Also, Warlords of Draenor has the coin system where you can have a bonus roll. You get a second roll. You basically buy a coin and you get a bonus roll. You can choose to spend the coin, and it gives you another chance to get a piece of loot. I usually get gold with it, to be honest with you. But I think this system is much better, particularly in the LFR, places like LFR, and if you're pugging in general. personalized loot really does work because it encourages you to stick around and fight the boss. Obviously, you get people who just get their piece of loot and leave. That is a problem, but again, it would be nice to see a similar system in SWTOR. SWTOR uses the old need, greed, pass system, which is outdated, I think. It's a very, very outdated system these days, and it's open to abuse. I mean, you can do that with guilds. You run with guilds sometimes, and they take the loot for the guild, and they do not want anyone else pugging with them. So what's the point in you doing that? As you know, why would you join that guild run? Personally, I felt bad for the guy. I mean, it wasn't fair. He did roll the highest number, to be honest with you, and he should get the loot. Personally, I'm with the guy who left. I wouldn't have left because of that, personally, but again, I see it as a huge problem with the loot, and the loot right now is pretty terrible in SWTOR. You're getting Mark II gear, ain't so bad, but we all want that resurrected gear. And I've seen arguments break out over loot, to be honest. If you're in a raid team and someone gets an upgrade that isn't you, it's good that someone's getting an upgrade because it's better for the team. Bear in mind the only stats that matter are, unless they're a tank really, because tanks have more individual, are raid healing, raid DPS. They are the only two healing and damage stats that matter. If the raid DPS goes up, it's better. You're going to kill the boss faster. You've got to take that point of view. You're playing as part of a team. Okay, you might not win the loot this week, but you might get something next week. You know, I always look at it that way. Yeah, we're doing the raid next week. I'll get something. Who the hell wants a Revanite relic anyway, to be honest? I rolled for one and won one the other day, and it's like, I want a Revanite relic. Yay. Don't even care, to be honest, about them. They only have 2 stats in them. I've won a Revanite implant, and I'm fine with the policy that we have of you get 1 implant per run, essentially. If you've got a Revenant implant, can't roll on it. Fair enough. I'm fine with that. Okay, it's only an implant. Don't really care. Doesn't have a set bonus in it. Not bothered, really, to be honest. The stats are pretty good in the Revenant implants, actually. Particularly for the healer, Scoundrel Healer. A lot of crit, a lot of alacrity in them. But I tend to take one DPS, 1 healer, 1 to get my crit up, essentially. So basically, I do not mind that. I mean, I don't mind that as a policy. A lot of people complain about that because people just want the loot for themselves. A lot of loot whores out there. We could basically just appease them by having personalized loot tables. You win the piece, well done. You didn't, tough. You can't trade the loot either. Make it untradeable as well, so then you'll get someone pestering you to trade it with them because you won the loot. Or maybe not reveal what loot you won to everybody else. I know World of Warcraft does it in the chat log, tells everybody that won loot. I don't think you can trade it though in the raids in World of Warcraft. I don't know if it's tradable. I know the dungeon stuff is tradable when you're doing sort of pre-Warlords expansion stuff, but in Warlords of Draenor, all of the loot is personalized. I don't know what level it goes up to because I don't really raid that much in World of Warcraft. I just do dungeons and occasionally dip into LFR, which is fun. LFR, it is a funny place to raid, really funny, and you should check it out. You should go into looking for raid in World of Warcraft. It is hilariously funny to see what goes on there. It's always worth checking out. It's a good laugh, actually. Non-serious raiding, I like that. I like that in my WoW, to be honest with you. But again, I think the loot system is out of date. It's not a very social feature. I know social gaming gets a bad rap, but making the game more social would be nice. And get rid of mob tagging while we're at that. Mob tagging is a horrible thing that really can't be justified. I don't know why it's justified. Every argument I see for it is kind of shallow, really. Mob tagging is annoying. Why can't, if 2 people hit the same mob, why can't they both get credit for it? You know, Guild Wars 2 does this. World of Warcraft does it to an extent with the rares that you see and some of the group world bosses that are out there. That's the rares, basically. They're just a lot of group world bosses, and you don't need to be in a group. Everybody who hits it gets credit for the kill. I think you have to do a certain percentage damage in Guild Wars 2 in order to get credit for the kill. But everybody who takes part in the fight gets credit for the kill, and everyone in Guild Wars 2 gets their own loot table. And same World of Warcraft, if you kill the rare. Rare hunting is quite fun, actually. You get some nice toys, actually. It gives you a reason to go out and explore the world. As you can tell, I've been playing a lot of WoW, and I think it does do some things better. And people say we shouldn't be copying WoW, but we should take the best things from WoW, really. If WoW is doing something well, or another MMO, any other MMO, is doing something right, we should take it. I mean, if it's right, if it's going to improve SWTOR, if it's going to make SWTOR a better game, and I think personally it will. Now, I was in a HM Flashpoint with someone, a tank, Vanguard tank, who ninja'd a Masashi Mark II cunning piece off of me. Yeah, it was Targeter's piece, but it was a Targeter's piece. I was the only cunning user in there. I rolled need on it. It was a Mark II Targeter, but it did have power and surge in it, which is pretty nice as a scoundrel healer. So again, it was Masashi Mark II, so it was an upgrade. I had Masashi Mark I boots. It was a headpiece, so I was going to take the mod and the enhancement. And again, getting that ninja'd, it doesn't make you feel good. It adds people to ignore lists. You're adding people to ignore lists, so you're never going to group with them again. And it just makes the game really antisocial, if you ask me. And again, we just encourage ninjas, and we encourage people to be douchebags. So a more open loot system, or even Final Fantasy XIV's loot system, would be a little bit better. Final Fantasy XIV's works if you get a piece of gear that is not for your class, you can only roll greed on it. Basically, the person whose class that is, like say you are a conjurer and a thaumaturge piece of gear. Oh, well, that's a poor example because they're kind of similar geared anyway. You're a conjurer and a gladiator piece of gear drops. You know, a disciple of war piece drops. Now, you could have a gladiator as your second class. So you could perfectly say, oh, I'm going to roll need for my off class. The game will not allow you to do it. It will allow you to roll need. So it basically gives the person whose class that is, the person who's the gladiator, the person who's the disciple of war, the first refusal at the item. It would be an improvement on the need greed pass system, because the need greed pass system is a relic of a bygone era and should be out of modern MMOs, if you ask me. Anything has got to be better than the current loot system. And don't get me started on Master Looter. I hate that system. Really, it's a horrible system, open to abuse, and again, we need to stop that. We want to make the game more social. We want to make groups easier to get. We want people to get loot. We want people to get rewarded for their time in the game. We want everyone to get rewarded, and not just a few people who either suck up to the guild master or, you know, are in the same guild as the group leader who's controlling the master looter thing. Some guilds operate a fairer policy than others. I think our policy currently is pretty fair, actually, to be honest with you. I don't have a problem with it personally. I know some people do. But again, it is an issue, and it shouldn't be an issue. We should be enjoying these raids, we should be enjoying these encounters, not worrying about the loot or worrying about the aftermath, because that's every raiding guild is kind of the same. You spend maybe 5 minutes killing the boss and 20 minutes arguing over the loot. Get rid of this system. We need a better system. So that is all for this video. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again soon, and goodbye.